Yo, 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 what is up? Social media world. I'm sitting out in Menard's parking lot right now, getting ready to go in and get a dog kennel that's a little bigger because my little guy Gus is deciding that he wants to grow quicker than what we thought. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing, and also getting ready to go finish painting floors. It's been fun this week anyway. But hey, just wanted to jump on and just encourage everybody with the 21 days of prayer and fasting. And my wife has been doing the last couple of these, which she always does an amazing job. And I told her I would jump on and do this one tonight, and excited to share with you. But I want to ask you a question. I want to ask myself a question. When I say the word faith, like, what comes to your heart and mind? What stirs up in your inner spirit, man, when you hear the word faith? Do you feel like you have a lot of it? You're like, well, I'm pretty optimistic. Well, not sure. I'm not sure it's the same, but where's your faith? Like, what level would your faith be at? You say, John, my faith is really low. Okay, I've been there. I've been places where my faith is really high. I've been places where my faith is really low. But what comes to mind? Like, what comes to mind when you hear the word faith? I don't know if you're like me. I think about, like, growing up in church, and, my dad was a big man of faith, and he talked on this a lot. And, I can remember services where they were pretty hyped, and we were talking about faith. And I can remember, thinking that a lot of people around me had a whole lot more faith than I did. I remember being in those services, like, man, I just don't feel like I have as much faith as some of these people. I've sat down by people, even in our church community right now, that just what I would consider to be like pillars of faith. People who are just solid, just, maybe a little older, a little more seasoned in their relationship with God, and they've been through some stuff, and they still have high faith. So where's your faith? Like, what, as you're in this 21 days of faith, like prayer and fasting, what's the level of your faith right now? Do you have a lot, or do you have a little, or how do you base that? I think the word faith has been watered down. I'll be straight. I think that the world we live in today is so more focused on feelings and not, pushing someone to have more faith if they're in a low spot, because emotionally what that could do. And I mean, I've been there where I've struggled with depression or anxiety, and someone will say, John, you just need more faith. And I'm like, I know, I know I do, but what I do have, it doesn't seem to be helping, right? Like, so I'm not really talking about like that shaming type of faith, but I do feel like the word faith has just been watered down. You don't hear it talked about like maybe like I remember hearing it talked about, and you're not encouraged to, strengthen your heart with faith and build your heart up with faith, right? Hebrews talks about the idea that it's impossible to please God without faith. And then you hear, you read other things about, faith like a mustard seed can move mountains. I don't think you need a ton of faith for God to do something in your life, because a mustard seed is pretty small. But I think you got to have faith. That sounded way too much like that song, but it's true. You got to have faith. You say, John, I have faith in God for my salvation, and I get that. But Do you remember when Jesus healed that man and he said, your sins are forgiven as well? And everybody got upset and, whatever. He said, hey, what's harder? Like, for me to heal this man or for me to forgive his sins, right? In other words, like, they're both really easy for him. So I am challenging us that obviously our faith in Jesus for our salvation, our faith in Jesus for, eternity with him, and that it's not based on works, but it's just based upon belief in him. Like, the Bible talks about, like, childlike faith is how we enter into the kingdom of heaven. But I also wonder where our faith level is with all the other things that he's promised us because of our salvation. Like, where's your faith at for that? Has it been polluted and watered down by trials and circumstances? Because let me tell you something, the enemy is not after your finances. I'm sorry, like, you may have heard that message, but he's not after your finances. The enemy's not after your marriage. The enemy's not after your kids. Like, he's after your faith. He's after my faith. And he uses all of that stuff to steal our faith and to keep our faith weak. So I guess my challenge to you is, like, have you asked yourself a personal question of where's my faith? How big is my faith in Jesus over these 21 days, over this year? What steps am I taking? Because the Bible talks about, faith without works is dead. So what steps am I taking to demonstrate my faith for him? And then resting in knowing that he's not asking for a huge amount of faith, but a mustard seed type of faith. I go back to when I was at my lowest. I didn't have much faith. Matter of fact, I would probably tell you that the enemy he may not have taken it, but it was close. And I can remember being in a place of trying to come up with faith on my own, which is, I'm not even sure is possible. But how frustrating that was and how more damaging it was to me because I couldn't produce this kind of faith that I wanted. But it wasn't until, and it still is, that I didn't just have faith in God to heal me, because I still believe that there's healing that needs to happen in my life and in my emotional life, like that I know God could do. But what I started to believe as well and have faith in is that I was having faith in the process of how God was doing it. That I didn't just have faith for God to snap his fingers, although I knew he could. But I had faith in the sovereignty of who Jesus is. And the fact that I don't have to fully understand why or how. That wouldn't be faith. But my faith is just trusting however he wants to do it. That's what I'm going to rest in. Where's your faith? How's your faith? Could it be more? I don't mean that shameful stuff. I just mean, could it be more? It's impossible to please him without faith, which tells me and reminds me that everything in our Christian walk, you got to have faith. All right. I love you. We're probably going to be talking about some of this tomorrow or Sunday. It's Friday. God's been messing with my heart this week about some stuff. So I love you. We'll talk soon. It's been real.